Hi, everybody. My name is Azita Sach, and I am a psychologist, a marriage family therapist, and also an art therapist. I practice in Los Angeles, and it's almost like 17 years that I have been practicing psychotherapy. And 11 years of it, I worked in a major hospital in Los Angeles called Cedars Sinai Hospital. And as a result, I saw a lot of families, their children from so many different backgrounds, American, non-American, and all sorts of ages and different diagnoses. Now it is my job, I think, to introduce my knowledge to public and help people all around the world to learn how to help themselves, how to help their children, and how to help their partners and people around them that they love and care for. In today's society, psychotherapy is extremely expensive, and I believe it's time for us to learn that skills ourselves and have it under our own belts. I would encourage everyone who is going to be here with me to ask me any questions they might have, and I will try to answer them as much as possible in this kind of a virtual presence. Now, the topic that I wanted to talk about is basically emotional alphabet. And I wanted to tell you what I mean by emotional alphabet and why is it important and how can we use it for parenting and relating to other individuals. One thing I forget is my major concerns and my major work right now is about parenting education. I'm putting my emphasis on young parents or parents who are already parents or young couples who want to have children and who want to start this very difficult task the most appropriate and healthy way possible. When we have children, if they raise them psychologically healthy, they will be much happier individuals themselves, and we will be much happier parents in life. Because when they suffer, parents means us suffer. So that is the emphasis of my work these days, is mostly parenting education. But as I mentioned, the panel is now open for any question you might have. And then if I continue working with the Organization of Citizen Psychological Association, I will expand the topics in what is interesting for you. So I won't have any problem. My goal is basically to advocate for psychology and empowering individuals to become healthier individuals from a psychological point of view and happier individuals. I mean, the goal is to be happier, more content and satisfied in life and functional. All right, so I go back to what I mean by emotional alphabet. Before I start that, I want to tell you, like a couple of hundred years ago, we started to have education in a more organized way. We developed schools and we decided that our children or ourselves need to be educated. We said, okay, we have to know how to calculate. We have to know how to read because we have to be literate. Now, the same thing is going to happen with psychology. If you look around, we don't have psychological education. We know 1 + 1 is 2. We know when we want to write, we have to know the alphabet of writings in our own languages. Now, do we know that with emotional understanding, we also have to have those basic education? We have to know what feelings are. We have to know what thoughts are. We have to know what behaviors are. We have to be able to distinguish between them. Believe me, in all these years of practice, I still have issues with very educated people. They are like doctors, they are scientists, they are mathematicians. They come to my office, and when I tell them, do you know what is the difference between an emotion and cognition? They just look at me like this. When I tell them, do you know how to differentiate between your thoughts and your feelings? They get puzzled. I tell them, do you know that when we have emotions, we have body sensations associated with them? They look at me like I'm talking from planet Mars. I tell them, do you know that we have behaviors associated with the feelings and associated with the thoughts that we have? Again, they look like zombies. Sorry for the noise outside, I apologize. So my point is, psychology has its own alphabet. We have to know the alphabet of this field like we had to know the alphabet as mathematics, which are numbers. We had to know the alphabet of language, which is ABC or your own language, or the alphabet of chemistry, physics, biology, and so on and so forth when we go higher in education. So let me just close this window so you can hear me better. Okay, I apologize. All right. So that is the topic of this series. Again, if you choose to continue it and if it's your interest. Now, another like pillar of psychology which we can work on is that like thoughts are like onions. We have something called core belief. If we have the onion, or imagine you have a fruit, there is a core, there is a pit in this fruit. And or onion, it has layers, and inside is the core of that onion, is the bulb of that onion. Thoughts are like that. We have to learn how to peel it to get to the core belief in order to understand what's going on with our psyche. The same thing with our emotions. Emotions are like that. They are layers and layers of emotions that we have to be able to peel to get to the core emotion that got triggered and therefore help ourselves and help our children. Or another thing that I always tell people is another basically a knowledge we have to know that emotions are very raw. They are like oil that is not processed. When we have a raw oil, that is coming out of the ground, we can't use it for electricity. We can't use it for power, can we? We cannot do any of those until we process that oil, that petrol, that unprocessed oil, and we make it gasoline out of it. The same thing with emotions. Emotions are raw. They are like raw oil that is so precious. But if it's not processed, it's not going to be useful. So that is called emotional processes. And that is another level of learning how to deal with emotions and basically the emotional alphabet. Now, one thing that I always say, because I want to just give you the basis of this emotional alphabet, which is basically the pillar of psychology for now. And again, if you're interested, we can continue. Now, if you look at the hand, we have five fingers, right? And this is, I call it like 5-finger rule for this emotional alphabet business. And what is that? Every time we live in life, we have an event happening. Something happens to us. And this is this finger, the event, the thing that happened, that triggered us. With that event, 4 things happen. We have emotions attached to that event. We have thoughts attached to that event. We have body sensation attached to that event. And we have behaviors attached to that event. Now we have to learn how to decipher, how to find the connection, in order to make sense and go forward and decode the language of psychology, the language of our emotions, to become better. Something triggers us, something makes us feel super bad, and we don't know what happened. We just know that we are miserable. We just know that we are extremely angry. We just know that we broke the window. On the surface, we know we are angry. But if we go to that layers of the onion I told you, we see that no, anger was just a superficial aspect of the emotion. What really happened, that core emotion inside, was extreme sadness or extreme fear. So this is the 5-finger rule, and I leave you with that. See if you're interested in it. If you're interested, shoot us an email or on the on this Facebook page that you're gonna get your comments, and then we decide if that's something we want to work on. Now, how is it related to you as a parent? Again, as I said, parenting is the major focus of my profession right now. And I believe that children are like another world, or for that matter, any human being. We have to know them. We have to understand them. They are like a chest that is closed. We just see the surface. We just see their behavior. We see what they do. But we have to go inside and see what's happening inside this creature that is called a child. Right? So for a parent, no parent comes with the knowledge of parenting education. No mother knows it. The mother knows it from her mother and from her grandmother and from her generation. The same thing with the father. The father knows how his father parented him, how his mother parented him. Besides that, there is no education. I don't know why people think that we have to come with the encyclopedia of parenting education just because we got pregnant. It doesn't work that way. We need to get educated of how to deal with another human being that we brought to the world. And our knowledge from our parents is not enough. Why? Because, first of all, the generation is different. Second of all, they didn't know anything about psychology. They didn't have a chance to know about psychology. And now we know. We have that chance. It's global world now. It is possible for us to know. And we suffered as children. I don't know. I mean, if anybody would say I had the best perfect childhood, I would really doubt. Of course, we had moments of joy, for sure. If our parents were kind and nice and understanding, we had much more amount of joy and pleasure. But if they were harsh, if they were cruel, if they were angry, if they were withdrawn, if they were depressed, if they were anxious, then we suffered. Right? So, my point is, right now, we have that possibility of learning parenting education skills to be able to be better parents, because that is what we witnessed from our parents. They didn't have that tool, and we were at their mercy to be happy. Now it is up to you if you would like to learn those skills. And those skills needs, again, the knowledge of emotional alphabet. Because when you understand emotions, when you understand how they work, when you understand cognition and how it works, When you can peel out that onion of emotions and understand how to process emotions, then you can do it for your child. You can teach your child how to do it for herself or himself. And that is the most precious gift you can give to your child. You gift a lifelong skill and capability that helps her regulate herself. And what do I mean by regulate herself? When something really hard happens to her emotionally, bounce back, bring herself back, comfort herself in order to create the happiness that she deserves, the calmness that she deserves, and the power that she needs to go forward in life against what happened to her. That is the goal of emotional alphabet. Now, if you are not a parent and you are not in the age of being a parent, you are a student, you are struggling with education, of your own education, you want to be somebody who earns money, can survive in this really difficult world, and can be successful. So your concentration right now is your education, your student. Now, I bet you go through millions of tornadoes in your presence when you deal with a lot of issues. You have exams and you get worked up. You get anxious. You don't know how to present your lectures. You get extremely frustrated. You go to depression. Your grades go down. You don't know what to do because you don't know emotional alphabet. You don't know how to deal with them. And that is what this skill comes to your help. For instance, now I talked about the event, right? So you're a student, the exam comes up, that's the event. Your professor says, we have a chemistry exam 2 weeks from now. Okay, that's the event. Now, with that event, you have series of emotions, series of thoughts, series of body sensations, and series of behaviors, right? Now, when the professor says we have a chemistry exam in 2 weeks, you might be just aware of that heart palpitation. You feel, oh my God, my heart is just going up like crazy and I can't even breathe. This is the body sensation. Maybe that's all you know. And then if I ask you, what are you feeling right now? You say, I am extremely anxious. So that's the emotion you feel with that particular event. Then I say, why do you think you're anxious? What is your thought behind it? You tell me, well, I think I'm going to fail because I failed every time in chemistry. So notice, these are the thoughts. Because I think I'm going to fail. Another thought is, I have failed all the time. And if I probe and probe and probe to get to the core of your thought, to that bulb, you see the bulb of the onion I told you. If I go down, I bet you I'm going to get to the thought that says, I am not smart enough. I am not good enough. And that is the core of your thought. But when you get to that, then we go to like higher level of emotional alphabet or psychological education. So like, like a graduate level. So to know what to do with it. But these are the first steps. Now your behavior with that as a student is you panic. Panic is a behavior. You run around, you walk around, you can't concentrate. That's a behavior. You go on a sleep, that's a behavior. You go on a smoke, that's a behavior. You go have a drink, that's a behavior. You go make a phone call to your friend, that's a behavior. So you see there are a series of behaviors you can do when you hear from your professor that your chemistry exam is coming up in 2 weeks. Now, at the end, the last thing you can't do is to focus and sit down and study. And as a result, you're going to fail again. So imagine you know how to do all these things and ultimately were able to calm yourself down and be able to sit down, give yourself compassion and understanding, and give yourself what you need at that time to be able to sit down and concentrate and calm down so you can go forward, do what you need to do, meaning like if you don't know the subject matter, find out who knows and then collaborate or whatever you need to do, and get a good grade in your exam. So I leave you with that. I think that's enough. I have to go. And I hope you find this video helpful. Again, if you have any comments, questions, topics that are interesting for you, I can also address a lot of stuff that are like actually right off the bat important. Why am I angry? So I can talk about subjects that are about anger. I talk about emotions only with you if you're interested. Or what should I do when I'm angry? Or what should I do when my child just screams nonstop? What are my parenting styles? Am I a parent who is extremely flexible? Or am I like a dictator kind of a parent? Or am I like a liberal parent who is willing to listen and willing to be firm and put boundaries? So these are the topics. It doesn't again have to be emotional alphabet. These are the topics we can all cover. Again, as I said, my goal is to create a world that is a better world for all of us from a psychological point of view, that we are happier with who we are in the role that we have in that particular time in our lives in this society. It's a very difficult world, and it's not getting any easier, as you can see what's happening in the world right now. So we have to become our own therapist if we want to survive. And I'm here for you to create that possibility. And I would encourage you to also join me to go to that journey and be a better self for ourselves, better parents for our children, and better partners for our husbands and wives. Be well, and looking forward to seeing you in another session. Bye-bye. Okay, I don't know how to end. So, Ahmad, I need help to end this.